Hey guys, welcome back to another Bible in the Backyard episode. I'm Haley, and this is my backyard. My last video I did of Ruth kind of summed up and kind of did what I wanted to with friendship. And I know there's so many more stories in the Bible about how people interact with each other and how it comes together and how people really kind of fall into what kind of God wants them to do, and the people that they come in contact to. So, got my coffee. It's iced coffee, so it's in a cup. But when I was finishing up with Ruth and I was studying Ruth, a thought came to me about the book of Judges. Now, the book of Judges, we know Gideon and Samson. That's what I remember of Judges, is like, okay, Gideon and Samson. But who were the judges, and why did Israel need judges to begin with? And the thing is that because we know that they end up having kings and whatnot, because we have King Saul, and then it ends up being David and Solomon and all these other things. But Israel wasn't supposed to have kings. Israel was supposed to be set apart from the rest of the world. These children, these people, they weren't supposed to fall in line with every other type of rule that was around them. They were supposed to be different. However, lovely little Israel, as do we like things that we don't have, right? And so Israel didn't have a king, and they wanted a king, and we'll see that as we go on. But the reason for judges is because they screwed up again and again and again. It wasn't just one judge, and it wasn't just Gideon, and it wasn't just Samson. It literally was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in the book of Judges. Just in the book of Judges alone. 14 different judges. And some of those are confined together. Some of them are just independent. But it is kind of funny. It is kind of crazy how they need this many judges. However, I look in my life and I look in the lives of people around me, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that I would have to have the same type of thing, because I don't know if I make the same mistakes, but yes, I would. Let's be honest here. We're all humans, and we love to repeat ourselves when we get ourselves out of trouble. So, here we go. In the book of Judges, I'm going to start with the first chapter, and then we're gonna go from there. Does that sound good? Awesome. It says now, and please excuse me if I screw up names in the Bible. It's pretty fun. Now, after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, who shall go up for us against the Canaanites first to fight against them? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. And Judah said unto Simeon his brother, come with me into my lot, and we may fight against the Canaanites. And I likewise will go with thee into thy lot. So Simeon went with him. And Judah went up, and the Lord delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hands, and slew them in Bezek 10,000 men. And they found Adon at Bezek, in Bezek, and they fought against him, and they slew the Canaanites and the Perizzites. But I'm just going to call him by his first two syllables. Adon fled, and they pursued after him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and his big toes. And Adon said, 70 kings have their thumbs and their great toes cut off. Gather their meat under the table, as I have done. So God hath acquitted me. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and there he died. Now the children of Judah had fought against Jerusalem, and had taken it, and smitten it with the edge of the sword, and set the city on fire. And afterwards the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites that dwelt in the mountains, and in the south, and in the valley. And Judah went against the Canaanites that dwell in Hebron. And they slew Shisha, and Ahaman, and Talmai. And from thence he went against the inhabitants of Debri, and the name of Deber before was Kirjathsepher. Names are fun. And places are fun. In verse 12 it says, And Caleb said that he smiteth Kirjathsepher, and taketh to him, and I will give Achsah my daughter to wife. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, and gave him Achsah his daughter to wife. And it came to pass, when she came to him, she moved him to ask of her father a field, and she lighted off from her ass. And Caleb said unto her, how are you? What do you want? And she said unto him, Give me a blessing, for thou hast given me a south land. Give me also springs of water. And Caleb gave her the upper springs and the nether springs. And the children of Kenite, Moses' father-in-law, went up out of the city of the palm trees with the children of Judah, into the wilderness of Judah, which lieth in the south of Arad, and they went and dwelt among the people. And this chapter is beautifully 36 verses long. What they do further on is they go and they conquer the Canaan lands, basically. They conquer, and then they pay tribute. But as they pay tribute, they conquer through verses 27. And then from 28 to 36, they kind of become more lax about conquering. So they're still conquering, but they're not necessarily killing anybody. They're letting people live. They're letting there's people's cultures come on. They're letting themselves kind of lose what Israel was supposed to be about. And they were supposed to conquer the entire... Sorry, I got distracted. It was a squirrel. They were supposed to conquer the entire Canaan land. They were supposed to conquer Israel and Jordan and Syria and all these different places, and literally, utterly destroy the people, because that was supposed to be their land. God had set that for them, and it was supposed to be their land. And they were supposed to set up their culture and how they want it ran. However, we're humans, so we empathize, or we try to. We're like, oh, we conquered you. We'll let you live. It's fine. Whatnot. So, with that, in chapter 2, Israel messes up. It does. So we're going to flip to chapter 2. Bless him. Bless Israel. This is an interesting chapter. It is. Let me read and then I'll try to explain. And the angel of the Lord in verse 1 came up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I made you go up out of Egypt and have brought you into the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. And ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have you done this? Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your side, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. And it shall come to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voices and wept. And they called the name of that place Bochim, and they sacrificed there unto the Lord. And when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance to possess the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance of Timnath Hisri, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of Gash. And all the generations were gathered unto their fathers, and arose another generation after them, which knew not the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. And then in verse 11, you with me now? You with me? Another generation that didn't know the works of the Lord. So either these people forgot to teach, or they did teach and it just didn't sink in. And that can be very much the way that it is today. People are trying to teach. It's like, okay, this happened, and this is why we have this, and this is why we have this, and this is why we have this. But it's just not sinking in. This could be very much how we are today. And the children of Israel in verse 11 did evil in the sight of the Lord and served Baalim. And they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord to anger. And they forsook the Lord and served Baal and Ashtaroth. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Let me read that verse again. So they could not any longer stand before their enemies. They had no reason. They had no backbone. They had nothing to back them up in the fact saying, I am not going to do this. And they're like, why? You just did it yesterday. Why? You just did this yesterday, so you're not going to do it today? Why? What's your purpose? Whithersoever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had said, and the Lord had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, listen here. Israel fails to listen. Guess what? We fail to listen also. It's not... Just listen. Just listen to this. In verse 16, nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hands of those that spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a-whoring after other gods, bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of the Lord, but they did not so. And when the Lord raised them up judges, and the Lord was with the judge. He delivered them out of the hands of their enemies all the days of the judge, for it repented the Lord because their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. And it came to pass, when the judge was dead, that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers, and following other gods to serve them and bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he said, because that this people hath transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice. I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died, that through them I may prove Israel whether they will keep the way of the Lord, or walk therein, as their fathers should keep it, or not. Therefore the Lord left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Joshua. So basically, when Joshua and the elders died out, the children of Israel saw that these cultures were like, hey, that's pretty cool. Hey, that's pretty cool. Hey, that's pretty cool. What are we doing now? I mean, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that this, that, and the other. I'm calling it what it is. It's similar to what we're doing now. Hey, that looks cool. Hey, that looks cool. Let's keep that over here. Let's bring this back. Okay, this is awesome. And the children of Israel weren't supposed to do that. They were supposed to be different. They were set aside to be different, and they're falling into not being different, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. In the verses I just read you, in verses 16 through 23, it tells us that these people who were chosen by God end up not knowing him at all. It was the generation of Joshua and the elders who kept God in their lives, and even the generation after that. But then this next generation came, and they knew nothing at all. Passed down a couple of generations, and what happens? When they are captured, they need someone to come and save them and whatnot. So basically, chapter 2 is kind of setting us up for chapters 3 through the end of the book. Kind of telling us what's happening, kind of telling us what's going to, whatnot. Chapter 2 is really interesting, though, because of this reason. As I read it, it's similar to the time we are in now, as in 2020. Where it's easy for us to be like, nah, we don't need this law. No, we do. There's a reason for it. Anything goes. We don't really honor who and what came before us. We don't really learn from our lessons in the past. We are all this me, and this lawless type of thing, which is exactly what Israel is in now. Israel's going through this lawless type of actions where it's like, yeah, this is set up for me. But why? Why is this set up for me? And whatnot. So, we are very similar to the children of Israel. And yes, I know this is back in the Old Testament, and yes, I know this is before Jesus came, but these stories and these books are still so relevant today and in today's time. And we can learn a lot just from reading this and kind of looking back in history also, and kind of comparing and contrasting the two. And it's like, oh, okay, well, wait, we're doing the same stuff. So, that's the beginning of the book of Judges. We're going to stick with this, and we're going to get through several Judges as we go and whatnot. I'm kind of excited about it because I haven't really ever studied the book of Judges before. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.